was wrong about the tires on my new Toyota Tacoma. The BF Goodrich KO2s really are the perfect match. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. That's right, I was wrong about the KO2s for the Toyota Tacoma. You know, if you're like me, you get your new truck and then you want to start doing some stuff. You want to make it look a little bit more aggressive. You want to make it look a little bit meaner. You want some good meats to wrap around those wheels. Speaking of wheels, you got to change those too. But we're talking about tires here. So what I did when I had my first Tacoma, I went with the Nitto Ridge Grapplers. You know, a lot of people did. They look good. I thought that'd be the perfect tire. Of course, I put them on a 20-inch wheel. That was a big mistake. Stay with a 16, 17, and 18 if you have to, but don't go any bigger. You need that tread wall, that tire wall, so that you can have a good ride. So why was I wrong about the KO2s? You know, when I first saw them, I've got to admit, I wasn't a big fan. And for me, appearance really is everything when it comes to making the truck look the way that I want it to look. So I wasn't really thrilled about how the KO2s looked. So that's why I picked some of the others. And that's a big mistake. Really, picking tires because of appearance is probably the worst thing that you can do. You know, there are other much more important things. Now, the KO2s have grown on me. I do like them. They do have a nice aggressive look. They have a good deep tread pattern. They look good on the truck. And I went with a -10 offset on the wheels, so they poke out a little bit, so you can see a little bit more of that tire pattern, that tread pattern, that aggressive look, because they stick out a bit more. So I'm okay with the appearance. I think they do look pretty darn good. I will say the Nitto Ridge Grappler is probably the best looking tire that you can get. But that's, again, not all that you should consider. What about pricing? What do these things cost? Well, obviously, the more aggressive and the bigger the tire, the more money they're gonna be. But the KO2s are kind of middle of the road, I think. Mine were around 240 bucks a piece, something like that. Let's just even a set of 4 off to $1,000. I did throw the wheels in there, brought my total up to about $2,300, $2,400, something like that. So that's about what you can expect to spend if you're gonna go with a wheel tire setup other than what came on the truck. Middle of the road. Of course, you can spend a lot more, you can spend less, just depends on what you're going for. How about performance traction? You know, this is the thing that you really should consider when you're buying a new tire, right? I mean, that's what they're for. Unless you're just gonna leave it sit in the driveway and never drive it, probably should be concerned about how they perform. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with the BF Goodrich KO2s on my Toyota Tacoma. They do a great job in the rain. Will I say that they stick like glue? No, but you're not gonna have that in any more aggressive aftermarket tire like this. The best for that is the all seasons. They stick a heck of a lot better. But the KO2s are the best ones that I've had so far. The Duratracs were okay, but still had a lot of slippage when it was wet, you know, after a rainstorm or during a rainstorm. Same thing with the Nitto Ridge Grapplers. They were probably the worst, and that's because I think they have a firmer compound that's used to make them. In other words, they're designed for more off-road type usage, but when you put them on the pavement, they just kind of slip a little more because of that harder, more durable compound that's used to manufacture them. I've had it out in the rain a couple of times, haven't had any issues. They performed pretty darn well. What about sound and noise? I get a lot of questions on the channel about that. Are they loud? What do they sound like? Well, first of all, let me say, if that's important to you, you should definitely not go with anything other than an all season, because they're gonna be the quietest tire that you can get. Nice thin tread pattern, they don't slap the road like crazy. They're gonna be the best when it comes to sound. These are probably on the noisier side of the spectrum. The Nitto Ridge Grapplers, while they are noisier, were not quite as loud as these are. Same thing with the Goodyear Duratrax. More noise, but not like these. It's not enough to drive me crazy, but I'm not that sensitive to sound anyway. You know, I realize that I do have a more aggressive tire and I am going to get more sound out of it. So I knew that going in, I knew what to expect, and it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. But if you're sensitive, overly sensitive to that, the BF Goodrich KO2s might not be for you because they are definitely going to be louder. Nothing that you can't drown out when you turn the tunes up a little bit, but still, it's going to be there in the background. What about ride quality? Probably the second most important thing that you should consider when you're buying new tires. Because after all, if they look good, it doesn't much matter if they ride horribly. These are pretty darn good. I'm impressed with them. Again, the Nitto Ridge Grapplers were very firm. I could feel every little divot, nook, and cranny in the road. They kind of shook me around when I was driving. Put that together with the shorter tread wall, or tire wall rather. I don't know why I keep saying tread wall. Put that together with the shorter tire wall, and you're gonna have a much firmer ride anyway. But even so, these do pretty darn good as far as comfort goes. I gotta say, they don't rattle me around, shake me like crazy when I'm driving, and my big test is railroad tracks. You know, when you go over the railroad tracks, it'll tell you if the tire you have, or the setup altogether for that matter, is good or not when it comes to ride quality. I drive over railroad tracks all the time, and I can hit them at speed, which where I'm going is about 55 mile an hour, and they just basically glide right over. Not to say that I don't feel them. It's not like I'm riding on air, but they're the best ones that I've had so far when it comes to that. Now, speaking of ride quality, I do want to mention again, when you're going to change the wheels, you've got to watch what you do when you're reducing that tire wall. You know, on my red Tacoma I had a couple years ago, it was a 2018, I went with a 20-inch wheel. Man, was that a mistake. The tire wall was about yay big and that's it. Now I'm about yay big, about probably 8 inches or so as opposed to maybe 4 to 6. And it makes a huge difference. The more tire wall you have, the more you're going to absorb when you're going over bumps, railroad tracks, potholes, whatever it's like where you're driving. And I have to say, the roads where I'm at, not too great, pretty darn rough. So it makes a big difference if you go with a wider tire wall as opposed to going to something more narrow. I would suggest that you go somewhere between 16 and 18, in other words, 16, 17, or 18, and you're gonna get the best ride out of them. Anyway, I admit it, I was wrong. I stayed away from the KO2s because frankly, I just wasn't a big fan of the appearance. Not that they were horrible, but I thought there were others that looked better, and that was a mistake on my part. I should have gone with the KO2s to begin with because they are an awesome tire on my new Toyota Tacoma. Leave a comment, let me know. You ever bought tires and then maybe a day or two after you got home, got a little seat time with them, realized you made a mistake? And what did you do? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Robmotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator, and Robmotive FST, all about full-size trucks. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.